Salutations everybody, Dreamforge back with another video for World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore. You know, I will play a Warlock, this is my main class for Classic. I got a couple of questions in one of my streams, how I gonna level my Warlock, and I just thought I'd just make a video so it's always there, I can always relate to this, and this might be helpful for you. There are two options. The first option is the very safe option. You basically cannot die with this build. I think this is almost impossible. Sure, you can have disconnects and stuff, but if you just play normally, this is this thing is unkillable. And the second one is the more fun build. So if you're new to Warlock and you just want to have a Warlock at level 60 on hardcore, I would advise taking the first build. It's more focused on demonology, and the second version is more focused on affliction, more on damage. Okay, the first build. When you hit level 10, you get your first talent point that you can allocate, and I would advise you put the first 3 into improve corruption. I don't max this out right away because you have a global cooldown from 1.5 seconds anyways, and if you skill this, it's almost in line with this. So then you put 2 points in suppression. Suppression, you don't need more than 2 points because you shouldn't fight enemies that are red or something. 4% is enough to get hit capped with your affliction spells, and this is very important because fear is an affliction spell. Therefore you want to have this kinda early on. Then you start with like 3 points in this, you know, then 2 points in improved healthstone. That's very nice for the first dungeons. And then you basically want to rush this. You want to have improved Void Walker because this will be your pet of choice. You will basically use this thing all the time. This is a tanking pet, doesn't really do much damage, but it's supposed to be tanking. It will not all the time, you will see yourself. You can sacrifice this Void Walker if he's almost dying, and then you get a very big shield. And then later on you can summon a Void Walker again to sacrifice him again. You can basically do this indefinitely to some degree, as long as you have soul shards. This is the reason this build is so incredibly tanky. Now I would really get this. Like, this is like the time where I really would get this. You will feel this again if you don't take this. So improved life tap, very cool. I would go for having just more mana on that Void Walker. This would just prevent your Void Walker from getting as much. Then I would take Fel Domination. Fel Domination is the spell you take. It has a 50-minute cooldown. If you press this with Master Summoner, you basically have a half a second cast time on your next Void Walker, which is absolutely crazy. Then you want to take some points into this, you know, getting more stamina. Your Void Walker is just more tanky, and just Master Summoner, something you should take when you can get it. This not only makes this very fast with Fel Domination, your summoning time for a new pet is way lower. Then I wouldn't put any points here, I would really prioritize damage. You lack damage with your Void Walker, therefore some aggro. And the more damage your Void Walker does, the better. So I would really prioritize damage over everything at this point. You don't really sacrifice your Void Walker, you just take this because you want to have Soul Link. You can take this later, that's absolutely fine. I would prioritize health over mana, but I mean, maybe your Void Walker gets all the time. I don't have that problem, he just dies at some point, and I think Fel Stamina is just a better way to do it. Then I put 5 points into this. This would just mean your Void Walker gets less damage from physical attacks, which will be by far the majority of damage. So he's basically 10% more tanky, which is kind of cool. And then you get Soul Link. The whole reason you do this whole spiel, basically, if you ever get aggro, then you just get 30% less damage. You get a small damage increase, which is obviously very good because damage is what you're actually lacking a little bit. But regardless, you are very tanky. At this point I would probably take this, maybe even before. Just take this when you want. I think after Master Summoner or after Unholy Power, if you max this out, is maybe a very good time to take this. And now we have some options, right? You can just go back and then build this out. I like to do getting 1 point into this and then 3 points into improved Curse of Agony. This is not the biggest deal ever, but at this point you're so tanky, you can't die basically. I don't think you can. any bits of damage. This to amplified curse, you can amplify one curse of agony on an enemy. This will just increase your leveling speed a lot. I would highly recommend doing this. Another point into this, sometimes you use that maybe in the beginning if your Void Walker has like sufficient aggro or something, and then maybe even Nightfall. But at this point you're almost 60. It doesn't really matter what you take. No, you can take this improved health funnel if you want. There is actually a lot of options, you know. You can even get more life if you want. This is very safe. And give your Void Walker more mana. Take whatever you want. I would probably do something like this, and then probably something like this. I would probably do this. This is just nice to have, having more range on your affliction spells. So yeah, this is the safe build. I'm pretty convinced if you just play safely, you always have sufficient soul shards in your bag, you can't die on this build. I think this is not possible. At least if you just run away and sacrifice a Void Walker 2 times, there's nothing that could kill you in this time. Even having an elite on you or something, this is a very safe build. I like the other build more, but this doesn't mean that this build is bad. It's very, very strong. I congratulate you if you take this build to level 60 before, because you will hit level 60 with this. Alright, I thought I'd just change up the scenery. Alright, the fun build. This is way more offensive. This will be faster, but this is not as safe as the other one, not even close. So I would say if you're somebody who's really completely new, you can do this obviously, but take this with a grain of salt. I don't want you to die. So this is for somebody like me who plays Warlock a lot. I think this is just way more fun, and it is way faster. So you start with, again, 3 points in improved corruption, then 2 points in suppression, and then you can max this out. I most of the time don't do this because I want to have other things. I want to have this, for example, improved life tab. And then I start pumping points into improved drain life. This build, somebody call this drain tanking. You will have aggro a lot, but you will leech life from your enemy and do damage with all the dots, and you have an active pet. You play with a succubus. And then what I rush is their concentration. If you don't have this fully, the hits of the enemies will interrupt you way too often, and then it's not really efficient at this point. I wouldn't drain tank right away. I would wait until level 30, 34 is a very good level. Before that, wanding is most of the time more efficient. I would only put one point into this, because you do a lot of damage anyways. You don't really need to have those bolts, and they just rip you of a lot of mana. I like having one amplified curse for stronger enemies, like elites for example, right? Just do more damage. At this point, I would probably max this out, you know. Having this instant is just way more fun. Yeah, then I would do Siphon Life. Then I would probably do this. This gives me more reach, more range, more room to work with. And then I would put 1 point into this. I mean, there's nothing else that is actually interesting for me. So I just take this. It's 2% more damage on your Curse of Agony. Then I put 5 points into this, and then 1 point into Dark Pact. This is really cool. If you never use it, it's kind of weird, but if you have it, you use it actually a lot, and your pet will be all the time. It's pretty cool. I use both, like improved life tab and Dark Pact. I just pump out mana all the time. I'm pulling mobs all the goddamn time, and you use basically the mana from your pet and the region from your pet to just fill your pulls, right? Kind of cool. Then at this point, if you don't had Demonic Embrace, you can wait for this 2 levels. So I do this first. I think this is very cool. Then I put 3 points into this, and then I put 5 points into this actually. This means your succubus has more mana. You can just get more mana from your succubus. It is just a win-win in my opinion. Then I put 3 points into this. I really like this, to be honest. This just basically increases the damage of your succubus. 2 options. You can play very aggressively and put all your skills from your succubus off. Then this is maybe not the best idea, but I always have this on because just the normal attack, this is like Lash of Pain. It costs a little bit of mana, but it would never drain your succubus. This would just hit harder. The succubus does a lot of damage. Don't underestimate her. I would say 25% of your overall DPS. This is a very strong pet, so don't underestimate skilling that pet. When at this point you on the highway to 60 anyways, you know. Then I would probably put a point in here. I think this is very useful having this skilled once, you know. You don't have to take this. Your succubus shouldn't die as often because you should be the one who has aggro all the time. Then I would just straight up do this. Just giving your succubus more and more and more damage. Especially in those later levels, let's say 50 plus, leveling becomes slow-ish, you know, and then just pumping out more damage with your pet. You just have more DPS, which just means you just level faster. I really like this build. This is a lot of fun. That is my build that I'm going to use, and the other one, if you just want to play very, very safe. I hope you have fun with it. I will play a Warlock 100% at launch. I wish everybody a great time in Azeroth. Don't die. Have a good one.